Hey everybody, wanted to talk to you today about really what's wrong with the fitness industry as I see it. You know, there's so many times that I'll actually go, particularly when I'm traveling, and I like to, shall we say, do a little spying on what's going on at other facilities and, you know, kind of get my take on some of the other things that other gyms and other instructors are doing. And I recently got back from a trip out to California, and I was at a very large commercial fitness center, and I actually counted, I think there was 6 or 7 trainers. And as I'm going through, I'm just kind of watching to see what they're doing with some of their clients. And it was quite alarming, shall we say. So not only were they doing exercises that, in my opinion, would be inappropriately prescribed, meaning this person that was doing it with a trainer had no business doing it. They had either the wrong load, meaning they were using an inappropriate weight. Sometimes the exercise selection that they were doing was not even an appropriate exercise for that particular person's condition. Now, another thing I saw is just from a biomechanical standpoint, just people's form was horrible. And like I said, as I looked at each trainer, I saw a different thing. You know, this person's pronating their feet when they're squatting. This person is sagging their back. They're not bracing their abs sufficiently when they're planking. I could see how people were breathing incorrectly, doing lateral band walks. I mean, it was really atrocious. And the average consumer, when you hire professionally, you expect good quality information, good quality education. And today, unfortunately, people just aren't necessarily getting it. You know, we live in the information age. And so you just pick up your phone and you can really get information about anything today. And I mean anything. But here's the problem. People today don't need more information. In fact, a lot of times people don't know how to really decipher what information is maybe right for them and what's not right for them. What people really need is they need the truth. And that's really why I came up with my pyramid for optimal physical performance. So what I've got is I've got 8. I've got 28. So you see 28 different blocks. And what I'm going to do is over the next 28 days, I'm going to go through each of these blocks and why it's so important to integrate each of these blocks into your fitness program. So if you take a look at the history of exercise, you know, there's a lot of variety out there. There's a lot of different methods for exercise. But I want you to understand this. Methods are many, but principles are few. And so a lot of times people get caught up in all this variety and, oh, I want to do something new. I want to do something creative. And so the fads come and go. But what is obviously here to stay is the 7 primary movements of the human being. So if you look at it, it's a squat, it's bending, it's pushing, it's pulling, it's twisting, it's lunging, and then it's gait. So it's walking or jogging or running. So you have to have these major movement patterns in your fitness programming design. Anything else, it's not that it's not important, but as I go through these blocks, you'll start to understand why you must have these 7 major movements in your exercise. So another thing I was thinking about is when it comes to exercise, when it comes to a person's fitness, there's so much information out there that, you know, sometimes it's paralysis by analysis. And so what people are doing, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And they don't really know what to do, so consequently they do nothing. Or they gather enough information where they know enough to unfortunately be dangerous. And a lot of times that's what happens is sometimes they're working with, unfortunately, a fitness professional and they get hurt because they're not using good sound biomechanics. Or sometimes they're just doing something on their own because they saw it in a magazine or they saw it on a video and it looked cool. And so consequently, they said, well, I'm going to do this exercise. But that particular exercise, that particular routine, that particular method might not necessarily be appropriate for the individual. So that's a big question we have to ask ourselves. Is XYZ appropriate for me and my fitness level? So another thing, I was thinking about is today there's such a focus on this routine burns 500 calories or 700 calories or 1,000 calories. And so the focus is really on the caloric expenditure. But what I want people to understand is far more important than how many calories you're expending is what are you doing to maintain, restore, or gain functionality of your body. Meaning, if you can't squat properly, there's a reason for it. So we got to figure that out. If you can't bend, if you can't lunge, if you can't push, if you can't pull, and you can't do those things mechanically properly, then we have to identify why you can't do it. So again, it's not about necessarily how many calories am I burning. That is one component, but much more important is, are you able to restore the function of your body and move the way you're really designed to move? So, any questions, Mary, so far?
Yeah, often we hear from clients too about we want a variety. We're bored with doing the same thing. Can you address that about?
Absolutely. And here's one of the things. I remember one of my mentors. He had actually trained with a grandmaster in karate, and one of the things his grandmaster said that is when people are not really focusing on mastery because they want variety, he said that's someone who's really not committed to their craft, i.e. the mastery of that craft. And if you look at, I think, the greatest coaches really in the history of sports, names that come to mind are John Wooden, the basketball coach from UCLA, won 11 national championships. Vince Lombardi, the great football coach for the Green Bay Packers. And, the one thing that these guys really, really focused on was the fundamentals of the game. And I think if you really, really want to optimize your fitness, you have to focus on the fundamentals. Now, I know fundamentals aren't necessarily sexy, but they work. And if you focus more on mastery over variety, you're always going to get superior results. And I love various quotes out there, but Bruce Lee talked about, in one of his quotes, he said, "I don't fear the man who's practiced 10,000 different kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times." And if you look, I think that's the one thing that I take so much pride in, is looking around at our clients and just how good they are mechanically. I mean, if you take a lot of our clients and you compare them to, say, other clients working out at various places, it's like night and day. And we kind of talk about and kid about this in our studio is not only do we want to be biomechanically sound, but when you're biomechanically sound, you should be aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So if someone knows nothing about exercise and they come in and they see someone, let's say person A doing something incorrectly, and then person B executing that movement with precision and very, very safe, I don't know what person B is doing, but they just look better doing it. And that's really, if you start to look around at people when they're even, obviously when people are jogging, you can see people that look like they're running on a cloud versus someone who's, doing what I call speed limping, where they're kind of hobbling as they run. And so, not aesthetically pleasing to the eye to see that person hobbling and kind of wobbling, and their arm mechanics are all over the map. But the people that look like they're just almost floating on a cloud, those are the people that are mechanically sound. So, if you look at variety versus, mastery, that's a big one. Any other questions that we have?
Yeah, we have a client asking about what about yoga and Pilates versus.
Okay, well let me talk about yoga. I think people need to understand that most people think about working out in terms of their fitness, and working out is very important. We all need to work out, but another thing we need to do is work in. So when we talk about working out, we're expending energy or life force, chi or prana, whatever you want to call it, but in the end it's all energy. So we're expending energy, and we have to make sure on a daily basis we're doing enough things to cultivate life force. So you're expending all this energy through work, through your family, through working out, but what are you doing to cultivate that energy? And that's where Tai Chi and Qigong and restorative type yoga practices are fabulous. Yoga is becoming more and more popular today, but it is so bastardized. It's unbelievable. To make yoga palatable for a certain segment of the population, now we're using yoga with weights. Ridiculous. If you look at what yoga is all about, it's about postures and it's about breath work. And it's about restoring or cultivating that life force. And so just because something has, kind of a sexy name or some of these different flows doesn't necessarily mean it's true yoga, and it's not necessarily the type of yoga you need. And so just remember this principle. There's working out, and then there's working in. And when I talk about working in, I'm talking more restorative type yoga.
One other comment you have about the different methods of exercising.
Yeah, again, like I talked about earlier, is methods are many, but principles are few. So, if we take a look at some of the exercise, whether it's, Tae Bo or step aerobics or, some of these other things that have come and gone, again, people are trying to maybe put their own little spin where they can really kind of brand their own particular exercise methodology, kind of put their stamp or their name on it. People can get creative, and sometimes it gets so creative it gets further and further outside of the box of what true functionality is all about, just to make it interesting and palatable for the people that have a 6-second attention span. In fact, I was reading the other day that the average person has about a 6-second attention span, which is about a second less than a goldfish. So we are on the wrong path, people. So let's focus on key fundamental principles. Let's get really good at them, and let's change our bodies. I mean, that's what it's all about. So let's see, what else? I think one of the things that, again, getting back into the quote thing, sometimes you have to empty your cup to fill it. And again, there's so much information out there, but there's so much misinformation out there. And so sometimes we just have to come with a blank slate and just say, you know what, I'm going to focus on good, strong, fundamental principles. I'm going to master these fundamental principles, and I'm truly going to change my body. So here's what I've got in store. For the next 28 days, I'm going to go through each block in the pyramid, and I guarantee you one thing. I guarantee you this. If you go through and you really master each of these blocks, you will master your body better than 99% of the population on the planet. And so stay with me for the next 28 days, because we're going to go through a lot of information. If you have any questions, go ahead and post those questions. Make sure that you guys also, if you got some good information from this, please like it, share it with friends or family if you think that they can also benefit from this information. And then also make sure you follow us on our Facebook so you can actually make sure you're getting notified every time I post one of the videos. So I'm going to go live every day for the next 28 days, various times throughout the day. We'll try and notify you as much as we can, but I'm going to try and shoot multiple videos a day for the next 28 days. So hopefully you got some good information here, and I'll look forward to chatting with you the next 28 days.